Back in the news center with the Democratic strategist Antjuan Wright and Justin Wallin is a Republican strategist and pollster. Justin, we were talking about this idea that the fund, this anti-weaponization slush fund that had been supposedly killed, the president again said today in one breath that it was, but said that in another breath. So what's really going on here as he tries to get Todd Blanche through, and I don't know where that is.
I think he's saying what he feels he needs to say in order to try to move Todd Blanche forward, which is basically not committing really to anything, seemingly committing on one side, right away committing on the other side. The reality is this fund is deeply unpopular with the American people. It's not popular amongst Republicans particularly. And frankly, it's a challenge for the president because he did have a bit of high ground in the world of lawfare coming out of the last 4 years. He's squandered that. I wonder if John Bolton would have gotten the benefit of this fund. But ultimately, this is a topic that voters want nothing to do with. They're not interested in it. It has nothing to do with them. I really don't understand why it's being pushed forward.
Well, it's become part of the Blanche thing. He's trying to get Todd Blanche, by the way, was there at Camp David today, Antjuan. He's trying to get him in as the Attorney General, but he's being blocked. Tom Tillis, one of the senators who's on his way out, who's been blocking Blanche, said this about the fund. The president made it clear today that the so-called anti-weaponization fund is still alive, which is exactly why we're attempting to formally end it. I'll continue working in good faith to put an end to this legal and political albatross and prevent any misallocation of taxpayer dollars. Do you look in at this as a Democrat and think what?
Well, it's not just the weaponization fund. It's also this idea agreement that the IRS cannot look into the finances of the Trump family anymore beyond this agreement. I think that's the other part. These people are so deep and bathing in corruption so much to the point where they're starting to ignore the reality. How many people, everyday people will be able to be exempt from the IRS looking into their finances? So that's scary all by itself. And so I think what the two Republican senators are asking is what most Democrats are asking is like, let's get this in writing, because we've seen those who have lied under oath or lied for the sake of moving through the cabinet process. And then once they get on the job, they tend to go back and do opposite of what they said when they were trying to get the job. And so I don't blame the senators for getting it in writing so that it cannot be disputed later.
Is Blanche going to make it, Justin?
I think ultimately he will. I don't think there are any serious issues with Blanche as the nominee. This is really just a policy issue that is untied whatsoever to Blanche, and it's little fight that we'll see if the president gives up or lightens up on. But I don't see him really winning the fight on his particular fund.
All right, it's happening in a midterm year. We've had a number of discussions. We've talked to you guys about it. I talked to Andy Levitt, who was on. It was interesting to hear his back and forth about Michigan and whether this is going to be a year where the Democrats step in, Antjuan, and take advantage of all of this and take the House. I know you think they will, a lot of people do, but also take the Senate, or whether moving too far to the left in a place like Michigan will cost them that opportunity. So how do you see the midterms from the Democratic perspective, Antjuan?
Well, I still think we're in a good position to win a 50-50 jump ball. Of course, these races are going to tighten up as we get closer to November. So I don't think we can make any assumptions. Again, as I said earlier.
Right, but do you get fired up or concerned about the left-wing candidates when they do well, like when El Sayed goes up in the polls? Is that a good thing in your mind or no?
Well, I'm always concerned that we have to have these unnecessary conversations in the primary that could help shape the general election. We should be all focused on the affordability crisis brought to you by and sponsored by Donald Trump and your neighborhood Republican Party. But when we start to have these style versus substance conversations and these things that distract us from the common denominator, and that's defeating Republicans, I find myself being deeply concerned because we've seen this before, and it did not end well for Democrats.
Right. So there's all idea of a battle for the quote-unquote soul of the party. Justin, you look at numbers. How do you look at this?
Well, I would differ slightly from Antjuan's assessment. The affordability crisis was not brought by the Republicans. It was brought by the previous administration. It simply wasn't solved by Republicans. Now, that's equally damning, I think. But the nuance matters because when you look at how Americans view the three most toxic political brands, it's President Trump, the Republican Party, and the Democratic Party.
Right.
Nobody is loved. And that's why DSA is starting to get traction. It's not because DSA is selling something that American voters like. If you actually look at the numbers and you look at what they're selling, and Antjuan knows this, in the more mainstream parts of the Democratic Party knows this, it doesn't sell with American voters as a whole. But that deep frustration with the status quo, that's what's driving this right now.
So all
and
this stuff about like a
a
guy like Rogers, he polls better, right, Justin? Mike Rogers is the Republican in Michigan, so he'd have a better chance if El Sayed wins. Or does something like that sometimes reverse itself once you get into the actual general campaign?
I think El Sayed is the best gift that could be given to the Republican Party. That's
what I was getting at. And is that not right, Antjuan? It's not is it a gift for Republicans when candidates like this are the nominees in states like that?
Well, I think it all depends on what life after death is for the opposite candidate in the race. I think that we have to focus on consolidation. Once we declare a nominee, I like to add that in the primary, you make a choice. In a general election, you're given a choice. And no matter the differences we may appear to have amongst each other, they do not compare to the differences we have with Donald Trump and those who are in charge of our government at this point. And I think that has to be our focus, regardless of who prevails. Michigan.
Speaking of the president, we mentioned this. Roll Call wrote about it. I want to put it up there because it's interesting, about whether Trump is kind of turning into Biden in some ways. Here's the headline. People just don't see it. Trump's midterm messaging sounds a lot like Biden, saying the president could be falling into some of the same messaging potholes as his predecessor, regularly telling voters to trust him on war and the economy ahead of the elections as he places big bets and pushes unproven predictions. So what about the Biden comparison, Justin? Where do you see it? Where does it apply? Where does it maybe not apply?
Well, I think it's apt. I think it's absolutely accurate. The reality is that Americans are not seeing a change for the better for their personal finances. They're deeply morose about this, even angry. And for the president to suggest that things are better than they look or they're getting better just doesn't reflect reality. And there comes a point when voters look at this and say, I don't believe you. I really don't think you believe you. And they start to look for alternatives. And this is where Democrats have a strength, is not necessarily are they better selling a better path, but in comparison to the status quo, it might be worth a gamble.
You're
That's
right.
the strength.
My kind of feeling on it, Antjuan, I don't know if it's right or wrong, is it might be enough this year to just be anti-Trump, at least in the House. But will it be enough in 28 to take back the White House? I think that's a different question. But how do you see it?
Well, this election, any election, is a binary choice. And I think when you think about the largest cut to Medicaid and SNAP in American history, you think about those ACA cuts that impact 18.2 million Americans in places that Donald Trump won. And now this recent rolling back of Medicare Part D that lowered the prices of prescription drugs, this warped choice. We see prices on gas, fuel, groceries, and everything else skyrocket because of Donald Trump and the Republicans who are in charge. I think it would be malpractice for Democrats not to win the House and the Senate and take control of our government. But looking ahead, when we do have the policy-making ability, I think we must clearly make the case to the American people the differences between us and them, and we must restore confidence that government can and should work for the people, by the people.
Antjuan and Justin, we appreciate all the time today. We'll continue this discussion, also talk more about AI. It was a big headline last week, this AI system that